eyes and your vision are under attack. Damaging blue light from the sun, your phone, your computer, your tablet, even light bulbs and car headlights is constantly bombarding you. The good news is our eyes actually already have a line of defense to counter the effects of blue light. This defense is made up of 3 pigments called carotenoids. MacuHealth with Micromicelle, the only supplement with the exclusive patent on all 3 macular carotenoids and Micromicelle technology.
Do your patients know what presbyopia is?
There are people who are afraid of the press.
Have you talked to your patients about multifocal contact lenses?
I've heard the bifocal, but not multifocal.
Exactly, not multifocal.
Do you need help with your multifocal strategy? Learn more at the conclusion of this episode. With more screen usage and indoor time, myopia, also known as nearsightedness, is increasing and getting worse in children. Now, certified eye doctors can prescribe MiSight One Day, the first and only FDA-approved soft contact lens to slow myopia progression in age-appropriate children. Visit CooperVision.com to find a Brilliant Futures certified eye doctor near you. Good morning, I'm Dr. Kerry Gelb, and welcome to Wellness 1280 on Open Your Eyes Radio. Please listen as I discuss the newest information in the world of health, nutrition, and sports every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Central Time on AM 1280 The Patriot. Also, please share your thoughts by emailing me at drkerrygelb@gmail.com. That's drkerrygelb@gmail.com, and visit my new website, wellness1280.com, where we have all guest links, Wellness 1280 information, and previous shows. Wellness is taking over the Patriot Airways for the next hour. Sit back and enjoy my interview with Dave Pygon, a business consultant. Leadership is the process of guiding, inspiring, and influencing people toward achieving a common goal. Today's guest is a seasoned business leader and coach with years of experience in helping professionals reach their full potential. He has dedicated his career to guiding leaders through challenging times and helping them refine their vision and building cultures of excellence within their organizations. In this episode, we'll delve deep into the art and science of effective leadership and gain Dave's insights into how coaching can foster both personal growth and business success. So if you're passionate about leadership or looking to elevate your career or business, this conversation is for you. Dave is also the president of Pygon One Consulting, a motivational speaker, and the author of the impactful book, Win the 16. Be sure to check out his podcast by the same name, Win the 16. Dave, thank you for joining me today on Open Your Eyes Radio and podcast with Dr. Kerry Gelb.
Dr. Kerry, I can't tell you how much it's an honor to be. And I know off the air, you're a friend. We call you Kerry, but on the air, you deserve it because you're doing a phenomenal job on the radio and your podcast for all of us out here, educating, teaching us, and just supporting us on all our journeys. So for today, you are Dr. Kerry to me.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate that. And, today's business environment is very challenging. It's been very challenging over the last number of years. So what do you believe in these type of environments are the core qualities of an effective leader?
Well, first, Dr. Kerry, it's interesting you said this because I was just doing a training this morning on leadership and how to have essential conversations. And one of the things I said to the executive team and the leaders was, I'm not going to quiz you here, but if you haven't done this lately, you all should know your top 5 core values. Google it. Google all the values. Have your team do that. And what I found, and this ties into your question, is to be a good leader, you got to know your own core values, Dr. Kerry, first. It's so pivotal. And not just to be a leader, I would say in any role, know your values. Why? Because life gets really hard. Leading gets really hard. And if you can lean on those values, it makes life a little bit easier. It makes going to bed. I'll give you an example of that. Is you've got a really tough decision. Maybe, unfortunately, we're laying off people. Terrible. It's a horrible experience. But if core values, trust and integrity is your thing, if you do it with those realm and follow that, at least at night, you know you can go to bed knowing I'm doing it with trust and integrity. So I would start off answering your question is, if you know your values and you truly authentically live by them on good days and bad, and when it's stressful, that is step one in the process of some good traits of being a leader. I think being vulnerable is a big one. I know Brene Brown is the big advocate now, and a lot of us have read her book. She's phenomenal. She's got her, I believe it's Netflix where her show's on, or documentary, or whatever you want to call that. I think to be a leader now, you got to be vulnerable. This is not 1978 or 1989 where you can walk in a room and just say, I'm the dictator, you listen to me, and be very transactional. That's just not optimal in the world. And I think being vulnerable is one characteristic that creates that, creating an environment of trust, which you can't create that overnight. It's earned over time, it's actions. But I would say right off the bat, those are the two that I talk about routinely.
You know, if you don't show somebody vulnerability, it's hard to get close to them. But if you're vulnerable with somebody, you could get very close to them. Tell me, what are your top core values?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking. Family, right out of the gate. Health, trust, integrity. And the last one, Dr. Carey, I got to tell you, whenever I tell people, you're going to knock it down to 20 once you Google it. You're going to knock it down to 10, kind of hard. Getting to the last one is brutal. As a Chicago South Side Catholic, loyalty means a ton to us. In mine, it ended up being 6. I took positivity as 5. So positivity got 5, loyalty got 6. And I will tell you, when I ask people to do core values, I always say this to them. Your values are the things such as this example. You get the phone call at 2 a.m, like for family, 24/7. Like, that's number one. At work. In fact, I had to cancel on Melissa and you recently because of a family situation that popped up. No thought. I feel really bad about it, but there's no thought. That's a value. I had to miss this opportunity to spend with you because it was a family thing that took. Health for me to live a healthy lifestyle, it's a little bit easier for me than it is others. Not that it doesn't hurt sometimes, it's because it's a value for me. It's also one of my motivators because I want to live till I'm 100. So I really, when you ask that question, I want to tie that into, for everybody listening, is these are really powerful things, and how you can really decide between number 10 on your list and 5 is they're non-negotiable.
You worked at a number of different companies. Give me an example of a leader that you admire and what you've learned from that leader.
Oh, wow. Many of them. I'm going to start with this one. I was a new leader, 29 years old, and his name's Tom Dooley. I use him all the time, but I'm going to use him again because I remember when we were all new leaders at the time of this group. I think all 5 of us that he was overseeing, I thought his advice he gave was best. He goes, I can't tell you all what type of leader you are going to be or who you want to be. I can only tell you this. Whatever it is, whatever style of leader you're going to be, you have to be true to that day in and day out. You want to be that micromanager? That's who you are. You don't want to be that leader you change with the wind. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to use different skills, and it doesn't mean you're not going to evolve, but it does mean your style has to be consistent. You can't be that schizophrenic every day. Melissa walks into the office and she wonders, who am I getting today? You don't want to do that. I think that is paramount. And I use that all the time when I'm working with my leaders. And I don't do that, Dr. Carey, with just new existing leaders. I look at, new leaders. I go to my existing leaders. I go, you too. You got to reflect back. Do you have a style that you stay with? Or do you tend to be a roller coaster a little bit? That self-awareness piece is critical.
What's the key to becoming a motivational speaker?
Yeah. Boy, we could talk about this subject, Dr. Carey, for hours. I always tell people I'm a keynote, I'm a motivational, I'm inspirational, I'm informational. because I don't know if I can motivate people to change their lives. What I think I do bring, though, in terms of that is I can bring an energy and a positivity and in an environment where people can gravitate to that, to think bigger. I live a life and I try to articulate to people this: the sky's not the limit, I am. I'm the limit. All of you are dealing with problems who are listening today. All of you are. And I can tell you, whether they're small, medium, or big problems, they're a problem. And how you handle them, you have complete control over them. My motivation to you all is this: the faster we all learn how to handle hard better, the more successful and happier we are. So how do I motivate people? I don't know if I do. I think I bring them inspiration. I think I bring them hope. And I think I bring them simplistic things and thoughts that they go and say, I can't do an Ironman, but I sure the heck can get out of bed and walk for 10 minutes every morning. And that's what I think a motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, whatever you want to call them, keynote, can do. They can create an environment where people can gravitate to it, hold on to it, and go, I can do that.
How do you ensure that your team feels heard and valued?
Oh, it's a great question. Let me tell you where I made a mistake over my years. I wish I'd have learned it earlier. And I don't believe in self-deprecation, by the way, Dr. Carey. I don't think it's healthy. What I do think is this: for people to feel like they're heard, it's an overused word, but it works, is being truly empathetic. I wasn't as good as empathy as I should have been over my career. I will tell you where I made a mistake is I wasn't always great at empathy versus sympathy. Sympathy lets people off the hook. Sympathy lets people off the hook. Whether you're a parent leading a family, whether you're a teacher, coach, manager, being sympathetic is really nice. But there's a difference between being sympathetic to Dr. Carey's problems versus being empathetic with Dr. Carey. I hear you. That is an issue. How do you think we handle that? What can we do? That's bringing it back to I'm being empathetic with you, but I'm bringing back we gotta work on this. And sometimes I look back, I was too sympathetic at times, and that hurt our ultimate outcome.
You've worked for a lot of companies, and I'm sure you've had bosses that you have the boss that's the abuser. He abuses his workers, the people that work for him, even though they're high-level people making a lot of money, but he's the abuser. And then you have the one who's sympathetic, like you were just saying, is ultra nice. And so which way works the best? And even in sports, you have a coach who's yelling at the kids all the time. And then you have a coach who's, being more empathetic toward the kids. Do both styles work, or does one style work better than the other?
I think we all have a vision of what we think is good for us. My kids all played college and high school basketball, and I'd sit in the stands. I got to know a lot of the kids, and I would always sit with one of my buddies. I'd sit away from. I just didn't want to listen to the parents necessarily. No disrespect, and sometimes you'd see him really getting on some certain kids really hard, and I get it, but I would go, that kid is shutting down. He's going to be a disaster the rest of the game. Look at his body language. He doesn't take to that really well. There's other kids you can do that to. They're fine. It goes in one ear, out the other. They're good. So I think whatever leadership style, the key is understanding who you're talking to. If you want to be that autocrat leader like a Martha Stewart type, that's you. But you just got to understand, if you're talking to my wife who's kind of nice, Susan's a peacemaker, she doesn't like confrontation, right? She's not going to disagree with you right to your face immediately. Like, doesn't work that way. And you bully her, you're not going to get the best out of her. You're just not. And that's your choice as a leader. So I just use that example is whatever you pick, you just need to customize it to who you're dealing with, is my opinion. I think myself personally, I think an autocratic leader can be empathy. They just got to tone it down and say, all right, we got to do this. But I am empathetic to your challenges. I am empathetic to what we're asking you. We're giving you less money this year. You've got a new competitor. You have less resources, and we're asking more of you. I'm completely empathetic to that. I know that doesn't sound great, but we're going to do it.
And what do you give in return as to the employee? You're telling them that, but what does the employee get in return for doing that?
Oh, and that's where, now let's talk about a transactional leader. A transactional leader will come in and say, if you do this, I'll give you that. Whereas the transformational leader will come in and say, hey, you're going to get all this, but let's talk about what I can do to help you on that journey, what I'm going to do to support you, what I'm going to do to be that true blue coach for you if you need it. Or I'll be that person who will cheer you along the way. Whatever you need, I'll be that person. If we need you to change and it's really hard, I'm not going to criticize you. I'm going to embrace you and support you. And we're going to transform together.
When you go into a business and you're evaluating a business and you see a business where their sales aren't where they should, they're having trouble closing the deal, whether they're selling real estate or whatever they're selling, you're going into their business and they're, seems like everybody's competent, people are working hard, but they can't close the deal. How can you help them close the sale so they could make their business better?
Well, if we're going to get granular here, Dr. Carey, step one is evaluating their process. And just black and white, because there's no magic wand to that. I think where sometimes us leaders, executives, business owners get in trouble is when we come in firing. And we don't come in firing in the terms of just spewing out information, do this, do that. I call that taking shots in the dark. And that's fine once in a blue moon, but what you'll find is you're going to lose your team really quick, because when you just fire aimlessly like that, you're not going to hit the mark very often. And when you don't hit the mark very often, you're slowly going to shut off them listening to you because you're not right. So step one in the process is identifying what their process is. What do they do? Where do they close? Where don't they close? Sometimes we've had people like, oh, I'm a great closer. I go, tell me more. And what you uncover, they close all the time. They're always asking for something. And then I always ask them, I always tell me more. I drive people crazy. Share with me more. I want to learn more. Keep coming. And they usually keep coming. And usually what I find, Dr. Carey, in this situation is they haven't earned it in those situations. They're just closing to close. And it goes on deaf ears. So that's the one example I'm giving you where some people are closing, but they haven't earned the right because they haven't brought the client to a place where there's a need or there's an added dimension that they're currently not getting. They're presenting, they ask a couple questions, and then they close. And that's why part of their failure rate is. Then you get the other people that they don't know how to close. Or they don't know how to response check before the close and say simply is, hey, Dr. Carey, where are you at right now in what we're talking about today? Where are you at? We're talking about this widget and what it can do for your manufacturing line and your business. What are you thinking? They don't response check them. They go right from presenting, asking some questions to closing. So there's so much into that, Dr. Carey. I'd say step one is just understanding each and every individual's process and how they're doing it. And you might uncover some small tweaks and pearls that you can take somebody who's not very good to good. You could take somebody who's good to out of this world and they're on a rocket with Elon Musk to Mars kind of people.
What do you think the keys are to being a good salesperson? Building on what you just said, some of the key 3 or 4 things that you have to do to be a good salesperson.
One is resilience. It's so competitive today. It's way competitive, Dr. Carey, than it was when you and I started, in the business world, 20, 30 years ago. I need somebody resilient, someone who can bounce back, someone who can take the hit and say, that really stinks, and kick the car tire good, but then get themselves back to a neutral mindset. I think it's pivotal. 2, I need someone who can take complex concepts and ideas, because most businesses are complex now, and make them simple for the client. 3, I need somebody who, they don't have to be a Bill Gates critical thinker, but they need to have an ability to have critical thoughts, be very analytical, and use that to their advantage. 4, they have to come across as trusting and caring. Those are my.
Everybody goes and buys a car from time to time.
Sure.
For some reason in the car business, the salespeople are tremendously pushy. Why are they trained to be so pushy and so aggressive?
Yes, I don't want to degrade any of the car salesmen out there, what they do or don't do. That's not my role. But I will say, for the industries that are very aggressive like that, I think they look at their resources as scarce. They probably don't use that terminology. What I mean by that is,
Well, hold that thought, because we're
okay.
up against the break. Dave, we're speaking with Dave Pygon, Pygon One Consulting. His book, Win the 16 hours you have during the day. He's a business coach, a motivational speaker, and we'll be right back after the break. This is Dr. Kerry Gelb for Wellness 1280 on Open Your Eyes Radio on AM 1280, The Patriot.
MacuHealth, your science-born and tested solutions for visual performance, macular degeneration, and dry eye syndrome. New products coming soon. Embrace the science.
We're back with Dave Pygon, Pygon One Consulting. His book, Win the 16. He's a business coach, a motivational speaker, a public speaking instructor. So Dave, at the break, we were talking about car salesmen, and we all have the experience of buying a car and the car salesman being very, very pushy. And at least my opinion, my experience of buying a car, no disrespect to car salesmen, because they have to make a living as well. Yes. And we have to respect that they have to make a living. But that pushiness, doesn't that drive some people away?
Sure. It's funny you should say that. Susan, my wife, she won't even do that. It's me or her father that'll do that, because she's so peacemaker. She doesn't like that at all. And I think what I was starting to say before the break, Dr. Carey, is whether it's a car salesman or any salesman, I think some of them think their resources are limited or scarce or opportunity. So when that opportunity comes in, that's how they view it. I've got to get this one. I'm only going to probably have so many. I think a lot of people have the analytics. I know it's a Tuesday. I'm only going to probably have this many people coming in. I've got to do this. I appreciate their understanding of the business. I respect them understanding their resources from a top to a floor level. But what I would say to that is that ultimately is probably taking away from your sales. You still can be aggressive, but you can do it in a professional manner where people don't feel it. They don't even understand. They don't even know you're doing it to them as you go through a process of, I just want to help you find what you're looking for. You clearly came in for a reason. How can I help you on that journey? What can I help you learn today that would help? Like things that, so I think bottom line is, I think they look at it. Now, obviously they're getting pressure from their company that they have a quota for that week and that month. And I think that plays into that. But I think just because you have a quota, and most salespeople do, that doesn't mean you have to be so aggressive. You can do it without people even realizing it, because you're doing it in a nice way. You're not rushing them. You're making them feel comfortable. You're building an environment of trust. And that first 11-second elevator pitch, for all my salespeople or anybody out there, if you don't have that down pat and you don't know what you look like when you meet somebody, you got to break out the videotape. You got to break out your phone, and you got to see, when I first meet Dr. Carey, do I smile? True story. I've got some executives, when they first start talks, they don't smile. They're so about the business. And I warn them and I tell them, I said, hey, you got to remember, half your people, if we're using the DISC behavioral assessment, personality assessment, half of your people are probably I's, personal talkers, or S's, like more like kind, considerate. If you don't smile when you open up, they think you're going to deliver bad news. You're in a bad mood. You're mad at something or you're mad at them. Not for the whole time, but maybe for a few minutes, and it takes it off your topic. So even in that first 5 seconds, if you can just say, good morning, everybody. Thanks for getting on the call today, or thanks for the meeting. That smile brings everybody down. Then you can jump back into it. The problem is, Dr. Carey, they didn't even know. They didn't even realize it. They're just so used to doing what they're doing. So that's what I would recommend to all my salespeople out there is, and I know some of you might be rolling your eyes, but video doesn't lie. How you stand, the way you look, your body language, all of that. It matters.
So you go into different businesses and you're hired by the boss.
Yeah.
But you're there to help both the employees or the associates and management. What do employees really want? If you get into the head of employees, what do they want?
The employees or the boss?
Employees.
I will tell you, I'm glad you asked this question because I've had many, many clients. I hear this, and I'm not trying to self-promote here. They'll be like, oh, you connected with our group. It's a tough group. I just had another one there. Oh, tough group. Everybody thinks their teams are tough, hard to connect with. All of them. Oh, they're hard. These doctors, oh, they're hard. The board of directors, you don't know what you're dealing with. Oh, I just had a bank team say that to me too. And you know what the reality is? It's hard for you. It's hard for you to connect with them. If you can bring, and I'm going to answer your question now, is this. If you can bring value to somebody, they're all in. Bringing value to somebody is not telling them what you think they need, but they don't think they need it. Good luck. Good luck fighting with somebody on that issue. Hey, you need this. No, I don't. Well, yeah, you do, and here's why. And then what do? As a proven statement, I call it the proven statement. Now I prove why I'm right and you're wrong. That's going to go over really well. They're going to leave that conversation and go, yeah, Dr. Carey got me. What they will buy into is if you can bring resources, you can bring things to them of value. People want it. They really do. They're guarded at first because a lot of times where they're guarded, it's not even you, Dr. Carey, that the problem is. The problem is all the other people that have come to them to try to help them, they haven't. And it's been either a waste of their time or it's how they've done it. So now people put these guards up. So it's our jobs, Dr. Carey, as leaders. Step one, we got to break down the guard. And once we break that down with them, with empathizing, being vulnerable, talking about, I've been in your shoes, I know what it's like. I always tell people, open your hearts and your minds. And if I can give you a tool or two today to give you a competitive edge, are you interested? Rhetorical question, of course you are. You all want to be successful. So my commitment to you today is I'm giving you a couple things. If I don't, you have every right to tell your boss, don't hire that guy again, or tell me directly. I'd love to talk to you about it. That's on me. I think those kind of things, it works. It really does. Now, you better bring it. Your podcast and radio show is not the way it is without you bringing it. It's because it's good. That's why you're getting these listeners. Same thing with employees. If you can bring them value, but just know they got a guard. They got a guard, many of them.
I've heard you say that employees really want two things.
Yeah.
They want to be happy and they want to do a good job.
Yeah, they really do. Now, somebody listening might say, oh, Dave, Dr. Carey, I got somebody. If you're new, they don't want that. They can't be happy. Well, yeah, right. I mean, I'm sure I'm talking about the general human being who goes to work every day. If I went up to them and say, hey, here's the deal. If I could get you to be at a happier place at work and to be even better, are you interested? Would you listen? Would you dive in a conversation with me on it? Would you work with me to create that environment at your place? I don't know many people that would say no to that because that's what they ultimately want. Now, is work, I always remind people, work is not vacation. Vacation is called vacation. Weekends are called weekends for those people who are fortunate enough not to work on weekends. But at work, if everything is horrible and miserable, you're never going to maximize your employee's opportunity. If somebody's ultimately never happy at work, I will show you somebody who there's no way they can be their best. Because to be your best at whatever you're doing, you have to be a learner. You have to have a growth mindset. And you cannot have the optimal growth mindset and learner if you're not happy, because there's science behind it. And you're a doctor, you know better than I do, but your brain's just not going to be fully open. It can't be. It can't be.
How do you deal when you're going into a company? The bosses, the executive, the bosses, the executive team brings you in, and you're talking to the executives in one room, you're talking to the employees in the other room, and the employees tell you, you know, I love my job, but the people I work for do not appreciate me at all. In fact, I've worked here for this many years, and they have never told me I've done a good job and that something positive. They only tell me negative. How do you deal with that?
Oh, that's common, by the way, unfortunately, Dr. Carey. Very common. A couple things. I learned in the UK, if you think, and you might know this already, if you think we here are not good with recognition and rewarding people and telling them a good job, my clients in the UK, they will tell you they're worse than us. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's one thing that I've learned now that we're global, is that I didn't realize that. So that's been a good learning experience for me to help them. Couple things. I have a major advantage because by the time somebody's calling me to bring me in, there's a couple things going on, Dr. Carey. One, people try to fix me up all the time. Frequently, when I tell them what I do, they're like, "Oh, I got a great one for you. I've got this individual. They're not doing well at all." Or I got this company. They're not doing well at all. They try to fix me up with people that are not successful. And I always tell them, hey, I would love to talk to them. I'd love to have a discovery conference. Just talk. They're never going to hire me, but we can talk. They won't. Because the only people that usually hire me are companies that are good, people that are doing good, because they're like, hey, we got to get better. So to answer your question, when I get in there and I hear that, I can be very transparent. I don't have to worry about walking on eggshells. I can go right back and say, hey, here's what I'm hearing routinely. People are crushing themselves. Whether they're perfect or not, that's your decision to say, not mine. But they're not getting the small win successes from you all. They're not hearing it. They're not getting that a boy, that a girl. And it's causing a problem. It's causing a separation of powers in the organization. I can taste it. It's tangible. It's real. What are you thinking? And then we talk about it.
Dave, before the break, we were talking a little bit about conflict between the perception of the employees versus the perception of the executives. The employees feel that the executives don't appreciate them at all. And how are we going to handle that? And you were mentioning the people that hired you are open to it, but maybe the vice president is defensive. So continue with that thought.
Yes, because the person who hired me usually is, hey, we're really good at some things, but here are some opportunities. So I don't come in just blaring and saying, do this, do that. Where are you good? I also never use weakness. I don't like that word. It's a negative connotation. People don't like it. I always say, where's your gap? And a gap could be, Dr. Carey, you're good at something, but your gap is if you put a little time in X, you'd be out of this world. That's your gap, right? It doesn't always have to be something you're bad at. So I usually get that out of the client. So the client, then when I go to work with the employees, it comes up. So it's really organic. But I might get the VP or others who might get a little defensive when I come in and say, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm hearing, here's some ideas, what do you think? And when they come back to me and get defensive, I don't play tennis with people. I teach all my executives, leaders, and salespeople, or just anyone on planet Earth. Someone gives you some little pushback, the first reaction is some client says, I'm not buying that. Well, yeah, but what about this? What about that? That's tennis. That usually doesn't work. What does work is get the client talking. Tell me more, Dr. Carey. And they talk, well, blah, blah, blah. What else? I want to learn more about this. What else are you thinking? So that VP, if they're giving me pushback on what I just said to them, I go, okay, where's that coming from? What else do you think? Okay, I hear you. Okay, got it. And I keep going and going. They're doing all the talking. By the end, that person has felt heard. They felt empathy from me. And now I'll have the ability to come in and share a perspective that they might. And I'll ask them, I go, can I give you a perspective that might be a little different? Is that fair? And they'll say, sure. And they felt heard. They feel good about themselves. They just boasted themselves up in front of their boss. By the way, that happens. Trying to make themselves look like, hey, I didn't let that behavior go. And then we have a really good conversation with it because they're heard, there was empathy, and now they have the ability to do that. Same thing with clients or a potential client. They say no, don't play tennis. Seek to understand, learn. It's really hard for us salespeople to do that because we have such great information and great technology or product or service. We want to get out there, but we really have to refrain and take our time and just seek to understand.
To build on this a little bit more, how does a company build a positive culture versus a negative culture? Because there seems to be a lot of negative cultures more than positive cultures. And if it was positive, the business seems to me that it would do much better.
Well, it depends what data you want to look at. I sat through Sean Anker's class, and he talks about happiness as an advantage. And when I give this number to everybody, you could absolutely prove me wrong somewhere with this. I don't care about this number. He was like 31%, I think, of his data shows that people that were happy were better workers and employees. There's other data I've seen that says 12%. You know what I say, Dr. Carey? I don't care if you believe Dr. Aker at Harvard, who's now at Univi in Chicago here, or this other one I'm talking about that's 12%. How about if it was 5%? Would 5% more production and efficiency and effectiveness help your business? Don't answer. I know the answer. Yes. I just can also just tell you, if I'm in a better mindset, positive, and happy is all relative. Happiness is different for all of us. I'm a smiler, so happiness, you probably can see it from me. Other people don't smile, doesn't mean they're not happy. It's just different. But when I'm happy and positive, I'm a better learner. I'm a better innovator. I'm a better boss. I'm a better husband, dad. My workouts are better. Everything's better. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'd love to know your perspective. How does that not help? What are you thinking? And then and then they're talking, and then we come to an agreement. Because I think the data just supports that. Now you asked, how do we do it? Starts at the top. I mentioned it before. As an organization, we need to teach people, and you don't have to hire me to do it, to hire somebody else if you want. Handle hard better. You've got to teach people how to handle hard better. If every time something gets hard, we become negative and miserable, guess what kind of culture we're going to have? I'm not sure what environment you have at your work, Dr. Carey, or what Melissa does and your team and everyone else, but you're going to have hard stuff. And if your environment doesn't say, okay, hey, we can go negative, let's kick the can, but then here's a mistake people try to make. The people go negative, and then the leader goes, hey, we got to be positive. No, we really don't. We need to be neutral. We got a really hard situation right now. We kicked the tire. We went negative for whatever it is, short period of time. We're not going to be positive because we got a huge project that we're fighting here that's going south. What we do need to get is neutral. Can we do that? And if you can create an environment where people, when hard things happen, to get them up to neutral as quick as possible, it is much easier than to live in that positive, neutral world. And it goes hand in hand.
Do I have any suggestions for helping with conflict resolution?
In what context? That's a big, we could talk all day on that one. In what context, Dr. Carey?
The context of the employee and the executives.
They have conflict with them, or they just are conflict adverse?
The employees have conflict with the executives.
Yeah. Is it their direct boss?
It would be the direct boss coming from the organization.
Okay. So the direct boss, the person that reports to them, has conflict with the direct boss.
Yes.
Okay. See how I don't play tennis? I could have asked you about 10 more questions on this. Because I just want to learn and I want to seek to understand, right? In any conversation. And I think when you talk about conflict resolution and conflict, people need to understand. And sometimes when the employee, which I know sometimes employees, what they'll tell me is, that's not my job. And I said, if you're having a problem with it, you're right. It might not be your job, but if you ultimately want a better situation, it's now become part of your job. And I'm sorry to tell you that, but it is. So you need to go to that person and create an environment. And I call it TTE. Your tone has to be in line. You have to create enough time to have the conversation, and it has to be the right environment. I was at Starbucks a couple of weeks ago with somebody, and right next to me, this couple is talking about their divorce. We all could hear it. I'm thinking, this is not the environment that we all have to listen to this right now. But it happens all the time that if we're going to have this conversation, we need to have all of those in line with our spouses, not divorce, but if we're having a conflict or a tough conversation or an essential conversation, we need all of that. We need the right tone, the right time, and the right environment. So we have to address this with the person. If there's a conflict, we have to go to them at some point. If we just can't do it, we then need someone to come and support us with it, meaning we need a third party or somebody else in the organization to help facilitate this. Maybe it's HR, I'm not sure, and what everyone's different.
We only have about a minute left. I want to know the qualities and traits of the most successful clients that you've had.
Oh, easy one. Simple. Growth mindset. Growth mindset.
And how about habits of entrepreneurs, the best habits of entrepreneurs?
Ooh. Taking complexity and making it simple. I didn't realize how complex entrepreneurship was until I started it some years ago. Delegating, not doing everything. What are you going to delegate? Like I delegate my marketing. I delegated my branding out. Those are critical. What do you have to delegate is just monumental, I think. I think the other thing too is you have to be realistic and patient. It doesn't happen overnight.
We're speaking with Dave Pygon of Pygon One Consulting. If people want to know more about you and find out more about you, how can they do that, Dave?
Dr. Carey, it was an honor. I can see why your show does so well. You're class act, true professional. So kudos to you. They can reach me simply at dpygon at pygon1.com. That's DPYGON at Pygon, PYGONone.com. LinkedIn, Dave Pygon, you'll find me. You plug in Win the 16, I'll pop up, I'm sure. Those are probably the most common ways. And I'd love to hear from you. Love to talk to you and have a conversation.
Dave Pygon, thank you for joining me today on Open Your Eyes Radio and Podcast with Dr. Kerry Gelb. This is Dr. Kerry Gelb. Until next week. Thank you.
Your eyes and your vision are under attack. Damaging blue light from the sun, your phone, your computer, your tablet, even light bulbs and car headlights is constantly bombarding you. The good news is our eyes actually already have a line of defense to counter the effects of blue light. This defense is made up of 3 pigments called carotenoids. MacuHealth with Micromicelle, the only supplement with the exclusive patent on all 3 macular carotenoids and Micromicelle technology.
Fitting multifocal contact lenses presents a big opportunity to meet patient needs while growing your practice. Alcon is your partner not only with our innovative portfolio, but through e-learning. Learn to enhance your multifocal strategy today with the Alcon Experience Academy.